Hey everybody, welcome to episode 2 of LonsTV. I'm going to review The Expendables, the new Sylvester Stallone movie that came out on DVD and Blu-ray. It's our first nighttime episode. I'm recording this in the evening. I'm about to go to Mahalo / This Week in HQ and do a new This Week in YouTube, but I wanted to get this out there before I did. So a couple things change. As you can see, the lighting, it's a lot darker. I'm hopefully covering my tracks with some lamps and getting enough light so you can sort of see me, but it's definitely not as good without the big natural light coming in from outside right through my window. And also, my dog is usually sleeping when I do these in the afternoon because he loves a mid-afternoon nap, and today he is rambunctious and all over the place, so you may hear him clicking around and growling and barking and whatever else dogs do, eating or drinking, and I apologize, but I'm not really a professional enough production to put him in my room or whatever and get the noise out of the room. So I apologize in advance for that. One more thing I want to say before I get to the review is if you have stuff you would like me to review, please leave it in the comments or find me on Twitter at LONS and let me know what you want me to review. I'm happy to get the feedback. I'd love to review things by request. One thing, though, maybe make it something there's a chance I'll have a real opinion about. Because I had a guy send me his website that he wanted me to review, and I appreciate it. I love hearing from people, but it's a women's fashion site. It's like one of these guilt group type sites. And I don't really know what I would do there to review it. Like, I was going to oblige. I was actually going there like, well, maybe I'll review it. And it was like, I guess I could order some pants or something and see how long it takes to get here and then let the guy know and maybe he would make me pay for him or something. But, that's a lot of trouble. And I'm not really going to have a great opinion about your ladies' fashion site. Not being a lady or particularly fashionable. So maybe make it stuff that's like, you know, a movie or a TV show or an album or something you think I may have like a real interesting, engaging opinion about. So that would be great. I'd love to hear from people and review things by request. So let's get to today's review. It is the thoroughly ridiculous but highly enjoyable Sylvester Stallone directed homage to 80s action movies, The Expendables. Obviously, the big thing about this movie when it came out over the summer was that it has this massive cast of 80s action stars and wrestlers and other kinds of people it would be fun to see in a movie like this. It works very well, I think. I mean, it's great as a vehicle for all of these guys to get together, and it's great as an homage to some of the classic, like, Stallone, Schwarzenegger style 80s action movies. It does suck. I know they tried to get Jean-Claude Van Damme and Steven Seagal in there, and it didn't work out. It really feels like they should be there, and it feels like they were in a lot of the movies that are really in this genre that they're sort of paying tribute to in the film. So it is a shame they couldn't get some room for them there. I will say, as a tribute to those movies and as a celebration of everything that makes the over-the-top action genre work and everything that's kind of being lost as we move into this new era of action filmmaking, it really was great. It was nice to experience it, and it made me nostalgic for those kinds of movies when things were handmade and things had a little bit more individual personality instead of the gloss and the sheen we get from every new Hollywood action blockbuster. Movies are so slick now, and in the 80s they weren't. There weren't all these CG effects. You had to build things by hand. A lot of the makeup was done by hand. You had these just like big hulking guys having these like fake play-acted fist fights in the movies, and everything was a little bit more personal. It felt more homemade, and it felt like everything had its own natural, organic personality instead of, now you get the same effects houses and they design the effects for dozens of movies and everything is done on computer and there's a little bit more of a factory created feeling to it. So this pays tribute to that era in a great way, and I actually like that Stallone doesn't spend so much on a lot of the effects. I'm sure he's massively exceeding his budget here and what he can really realize, and he's doing it by cutting corners, and so a lot of the gore effects and the blood spouting everywhere and a lot of the fires and explosions, they look kind of fake. And I mean, they look fake like a modern movie, so it's bad, cheap CGI instead of, homemade effects that are not working as well as they should, but it's great in that same way, that it reminds you of this bygone era when everything wasn't quite as polished and wasn't quite as glossy, and it was a little bit more natural, and it had that feeling, that thrown together kind of loose 80s feeling, and it's super violent too, which I thought really worked. Having said that, it is completely ridiculous, and it has this really skewed moral code. In the beginning, Dolph Lundgren gets kicked out of this group of mercenaries that are the Expendables because he's trying to kill one of the pirates that they're fighting after the battle battle's already over. Like, they've won, and he's trying to kill this guy anyway, and that's not what we do. We only kill people that we have to kill. Like, that's the rule. But then by the end, I mean, Terry Crews is literally mowing down rows of people with these machine guns. I mean, it's just brutal and savage, and hundreds of people are being murdered, and clearly not all of them were, like, super evil or in on the evil guy's big plan. And so it just seems like, well, how come that's okay, but Dolph Lundgren trying to kill one admittedly evil guy is not okay? I mean, it's just so bizarre. And having said that, as long as we're sort of picking it apart, I will say that Jet Li, Stallone, Jason Statham, and Dolph Lundgren get great roles and have a lot of fun and get a lot of attention, and their characters really come through. Terry Crews and Randy Couture totally feel like afterthoughts in this. Mickey Rourke clearly was not around very much. The only real affectation they gave him is he's smoking like a Hobbit pipe. It looks like he stole his pipe from Bilbo Baggins. And then Steve Austin gets like kind of a big role. He's in the Gary Busey part from Lethal Weapon. He's like Eric Roberts is the main villain, and he's like the main villain's henchman who they have to fight like a bunch of times. And so it just seems weird and imbalanced. Like, some of the guys got a ton of time, and some of the guys don't get very much attention at all. And then they advertise Bruce Willis is in the movie, and he's in literally like half of one scene. He's barely in it. So some good, some bad. It's obviously not a great film, but as a fun time at the movies, and as somebody who is very nostalgic for that era of 80s action movies, I enjoyed it. If you are not familiar with the kinds of movies this is referencing, the Commandos and Tango and Cashes, and if that's not your genre, do not watch this, or you will be embarrassed and befuddled and stupefied by what has occurred. So that's episode 2 of LonsTV. Thanks, everybody, for joining me. I'm going to do this every day for a while, but every day, even for the rest of this week. So there's going to be a Thanksgiving episode and Friday. I'm not taking any days off because I just started, and it would be stupid to take a holiday weekend after I just started this week. So I will see you for the rest of this week and beyond, hopefully, on LonsTV. Thanks for joining me.